Shannon Sharpe, leave that white alone.
I'm grateful I'm not 56 and trying.
Are you trying to say what you trying to say?
I'm looking right at you.
I know
I'm
you looking at me.
I ain't backing down. You better take your old and get somebody to love you.
Damn, Mom.
Shannon Sharpe told her that if she would lose enough weight for him, he would buy her some artificial breasts. Now that's very puzzling to me, Art, because she's already extra skinny.
He really want a 17-year-old, but he can't. He an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old. So here it is, he at the gym working out. He's showing up at the gym with them big old black legs.
You are not gonna believe the latest unfolding drama in the world of Shannon Sharpe. It feels like every single day there's a new headline, right?
Seriously, a new clip resurfacing. It's wild.
And it all really kicked off with Monique just, well, dropping bombs on stage.
Absolutely. So we're going to try and untangle this whole crazy web.
Yeah, figure out why it's got everyone buzzing so much.
It's such a classic case of a situation just snowballing, isn't it?
Totally.
One comedic jab seems to have opened the floodgates. Suddenly we're talking about everything.
Right. So let's dive into how Monique's set kind of acted as that initial spark.
Okay, so she's up there doing her comedy thing.
Uh-huh.
And she does not hold anything back. I mean, zero filter regarding Shannon and this whole messy business with the OV model.
You mean the $50 million lawsuit? That thing just hanging over his head.
Exactly that. And apparently the room went kind of silent on Shannon's side.
Yeah, word on the street is he was mortified.
Yeah.
Just really embarrassed.
And what's telling is the lack of public support. You know, from his usual celebrity pals.
That silence is loud, isn't it? Makes you wonder.
It really does. In the world of public figures, you know, the silence of their peers can say a lot.
Like maybe they saw it coming? Or weren't surprised?
Could be. Perhaps a sense that this situation wasn't entirely out of the blue within their circles.
Okay, and this is where it gets kind of wild. That old Club Shay clip, remember that one?
Oh, yeah. With Monique.
It comes roaring back, and it is, like, unbelievably uncanny.
Tell me about it.
She straight up told Shannon, like, point blank, to stop running after girls who just want your money.
You can't make this stuff up. She literally warned him.
I mean, you really can't say she didn't.
Absolutely. And her analogy was so vivid.
Right.
The difference she drew between, you know, a younger woman wanting transactional stuff, like Starbucks money.
Yeah.
Versus a more mature partner offering real substance.
Yeah.
Like eggs and toast, she said. Genuine care.
It painted such a clear picture, didn't it? Of the exact dynamic she was warning him about.
It really did.
Seriously. And Shannon back then just laughed it off, totally brushed it aside.
Mm-hmm. Didn't seem to take it seriously at all.
But now, looking at everything that's gone down since, it feels like Monique just said out loud what a lot of people were probably thinking privately.
That's a really key point.
That maybe, just maybe, Shannon's current problems aren't some like unforeseen disaster, more like self-inflicted.
Exactly. There's this growing feeling that maybe some obvious warning signs were just ignored.
Right.
And Monique, well, she's never been one to mince words, has she?
Never.
She just articulated those potential issues publicly.
Then there's this other weird story. This head scratcher about Shannon supposedly saying he'd buy Monique new breasts if she lost weight.
Yeah, I heard that. It's odd.
Especially considering, like, isn't she already pretty slim? The chatter is she is. It just adds this bizarre, almost surreal layer.
It's a comment that definitely raises more questions than it answers,
Yeah.
you know? And in the current climate, with everything else going on, it certainly doesn't paint Shannon in a particularly good light.
No kidding. It kind of hints at potentially problematic views or ways he interacts with people, maybe. And now it's all under the microscope.
For sure. Okay, so let's talk about this massive lawsuit. $50 million.
Yeah, the one from the OV model. That is not pocket change.
Yo, it's a staggering figure. Absolutely staggering.
And when you put that next to Monique's earlier comments
about the clout-chasing women.
Yeah. A certain narrative really starts to, like, take hold in people's minds, doesn't it?
Definitely. A lot of people are drawing a very direct line between the advice he ignored and this huge legal mess he's in now.
And the fallout for Shannon's career is reportedly hitting hard. Really hard.
Seems like it. Losing the ESPN gig was obviously a big blow.
Huge. But now that $100 million podcast deal is looking shaky too.
Yeah, that's the word. Sponsors might be getting nervous, getting cold feet.
And even his own crew. People are saying they seem to be distancing themselves. disappearing.
That's a lot of dominoes falling all at once.
It really is.
It just underscores how precarious a public image can be, right?
Oh, absolutely.
A career and brand that looks solid can face, well, rapid erosion when scandals pop up. Or just allegations of bad judgment.
And that podcast deal collapsing, that alone would be a monumental financial hit.
Oh, massive. We're talking huge numbers.
And then you've got these other moments resurfacing, like that nightcap clip.
Oh, the one where he just explodes.
Yeah. Yells, "Shut the F up," during the NFL draft talk. That just seemed like raw, unfiltered pressure boiling over live.
Exactly. That kind of outburst in a professional setting, it suggests a serious level of stress, maybe struggling to keep it together under all this pressure.
It feeds right into that narrative, doesn't it, that he's feeling the heat.
For sure.
And don't even get me started on the wedding budget comments.
Oh boy, that caused a stir.
A $30,000 limit for his daughter's weddings, suggesting spaghetti and fried fish. Seriously. Then you hear about this alleged $10 million offer to the model to try and, like, keep things quiet, drop the lawsuit.
Right. And her supposed price tag, what was it, $25,000 per cheek?
Yeah. The optics on that comparison are just brutal. It looks terrible.
The sheer difference between those figures has definitely fueled a lot of criticism. It creates this perception of wildly misaligned priorities.
People watch that stuff, you know, how public figures treat their family. Those comments did not land well.
Not at all. And then we get into the leaked text messages.
Okay, yeah, this is where things get really complicated and kind of uncomfortable.
Definitely. There's talk of weird racial undertones.
Yeah.
This whole theory about a race fetish.
That line the model apparently used, wanting him to have a big black baby with her.
Yeah. And the suggestion, or maybe the speculation, is that this type of language might have actually started with Shannon himself.
Wow, that's pretty explosive stuff to have out there.
It's deeply uncomfortable, isn't it, when private messages like that go public? And you have the power dynamics in the relationship, plus this really charged racial language.
Yeah.
It's generating strong reactions, lots of difficult questions.
And the idea that Shannon might have initiated it, that adds a whole other layer of concern, serious scrutiny.
Definitely. We also can't forget he admitted in the past
Yeah.
to actually paying for a woman's divorce.
Yeah, because he believed she was the one.
That paints a picture of, let's just say, some pretty intense, maybe impulsive romantic decisions.
Right. Like diving in deep really fast.
It does suggest a pattern, perhaps.
Yeah.
Very deep, very quick involvement. Maybe overlooking potential red flags because he's so invested.
Could be. And then, oh my God, the story he shared with Deion Sanders.
Uh-oh.
The one about the sexual encounter.
Yeah.
And the, well, flatulence was involved. Let's just leave it there.
Oh, that story. Yeah. The internet did not react kindly to that one.
Oversharing doesn't even begin to cover it. It was just cringe.
That anecdote seemed to cross a line for a lot of people. You know, what's appropriate for a public figure to share?
Right. Especially in the middle of all this other stuff.
It just further contributes to this sense of maybe questionable judgment in what he says publicly.
So what are the insiders saying? Like industry people, Dr. Umar's been pretty vocal, right?
Yeah, he has. Basically saying Shannon shouldn't have been involved with someone that young in the first place. Full stop. Regardless of the lawsuit's outcome.
Focusing on the age gap and the dynamic there.
Exactly. And the fact that the model reportedly refused to sign an NDA, that's being highlighted now as a massive red flag.
One that Shannon apparently just ignored.
Seemingly, yes. Dr. Umar's view on the age difference and potential power imbalances definitely resonates with people who think public figures need to be mindful of that stuff.
And yeah, refusing an NDA in a situation like that, huge warning sign, right? Suggests maybe they didn't intend for things to stay private.
Almost always, yes.
Yeah.
It signals a lack of intention for discretion.
So the general feeling seems to be like, even if Shannon somehow wins this lawsuit, the damage to his reputation is already done.
That's such a critical point. You can't really erase these stories once they're out there.
Right.
In the court of public opinion, perception often just becomes reality. The cumulative effect of everything, the texts, the outbursts, the wedding budget comments, it all builds this negative narrative.
And that's incredibly hard to reverse.
Very difficult.
And there's this other expert observation floating around about Shannon's alleged preference for very skinny women who appear, and this is the quote, built like a 13, 14, 15-year-old child.
Yeah, that's a deeply concerning assessment. and pretty unsettling.
It really is. If that's accurate, it raises some very serious ethical questions, doesn't it? About his attractions, his relationships.
Undeniably, it contributes to this overall picture of potentially problematic behavior that's now under such intense scrutiny.
It makes total sense then that companies like Disney, who own ESPN, they prioritize public perception way over courtroom wins.
Absolutely. Bad press is just toxic for big brands.
Doesn't matter what a judge says if the public turns against you.
Exactly. For major corporations, brand reputation is everything. The kind of negative buzz Shannon's generating right now, it can have real financial consequences. So distancing themselves is likely. It's self-preservation.
It really feels like this whole mess is the result of years of what people are now calling reckless behavior catching up to him.
The culmination, perhaps.
And that whole girl dad image he built up, definitely taking a massive hit after those wedding budget comments surfaced.
The contrast is stark, isn't it? Between the carefully crafted public image and the alleged private actions or attitudes. That's a classic recipe for a PR crisis.
Yeah, the wedding budget thing really seemed to expose a huge disconnect between the image and, well, his apparent values.
And now there are even whispers, rumors, of former colleagues maybe getting ready to share their own stories.
Oh, wow. If that happens.
This whole thing could spiral even further out of control.
That's a huge worry for Shannon, surely. If people he worked closely with come forward with negative stuff, that could kill his credibility, whatever public support is left.
Severely damage it, at the very least.
And that frozen $100 million podcast deal, that has to be a massive source of stress just hanging there.
Absolutely. If that falls through completely, it's an enormous financial blow. Just enormous.
And you have to wonder, does he even have the liquid cash to handle a potential $50 million payout if he loses this lawsuit?
The financial stakes here are incredibly high. Even for someone wealthy, losses of that size are serious, especially if your future earning potential is also tanking.
So it all kind of comes full circle back to Monique, doesn't it?
In a way, yeah.
She saw some of this coming, tried to warn him, however bluntly.
She did offer advice, yeah.
So does Shannon even have a leg to stand on being angry at her for her comedy routine about it all?
Well, that's the central point a lot of people are thinking about, isn't it? Given that she seemingly called out potential problems and gave him her 2 cents.
Right.
His reported anger at her for publicly joking about it seems, well, kind of unjustified in the eyes of many people watching this.
All right, so the bottom line here, Shannon Sharpe is facing a serious, serious storm.
No question.
A major lawsuit, a whole string of resurfaced controversies, questionable comments, huge public backlash. It's all converging. And it really seems like a lot of it could potentially have been avoided if he'd maybe listened to earlier warnings, especially from Monique.
Precisely. It's just this confluence of events that have created a perfect storm of negative attention. It puts his whole career, his reputation, in serious jeopardy.
So for you listening, and the big question really is this. Is this it? Is this a career-ending moment for Shannon Sharpe?
Or can he somehow navigate these really choppy waters, rebuild his image?
Or is the damage just irreparable at this point? And what does this whole saga tell us, about fame, about accountability?
And maybe about the real consequences of ignoring good advice, even when it's wrapped in comedy.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. A lot to unpack there.